The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony hummed with the quiet efficiency of 1,000 alien species, coexisting in careful neutrality. Ambassador Elsa of the Zorvathian Collective stood before the panoramic viewport, her crystalline form refracting the starlight into prismatic patterns across the metallic floor. In her three-fingered hand, she held something that had kept her awake through 3 rotational cycles, a simple, worn leather journal. It belonged to Jackson, the human liaison officer. Elsa had found it 2 cycles ago, left behind in conference room 7 after another tense negotiation session. She should have returned it immediately. Protocol demanded it. Privacy laws across 47 star systems mandated it. But curiosity, that dangerous, intoxicating thing she'd learned from observing humans, had won. She had opened it, and she had read every word now. As Jackson approached across the observation deck, Elsa felt something her species rarely experienced: guilt. His footsteps echoed in that distinctly human rhythm, purposeful, slightly uneven, carrying the weight of a bipedal creature who had evolved to chase prey across African savannas rather than float through the crystalline caves of Zorvath Prime. "Ambassador," Jackson said, his voice carrying that rough texture that humans called emotion, "you wanted to see me." Elsa turned, her form shifting through several colors: uncertainty, regret, determination. "Jackson, yes, I have something that belongs to you." She extended the journal. Jackson's eyes, those remarkable organs that could somehow convey entire narratives without a single word. His hand moved to his jacket pocket, confirming what he already knew. It was missing. "I read it," Elsa said before he could speak. The words came out in a rush, translated through the neural interface that allowed cross-species communication. "I'm sorry, I should have returned it immediately. But I read your journal, human, and I didn't look away." Jackson took the journal, his fingers trembling slightly. The silence stretched between them like the vast emptiness beyond the view. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "What did you see?" Elsa's form pulsed with colors Jackson had learned to recognize: empathy, sorrow, admiration, everything. "I saw your doubts about this mission, your fear that humanity isn't ready for this vast cosmic community, your nightmares about the Proxima incident, where 300 human colonists died because of a miscommunication that your government blamed you for preventing." Jackson turned away, gripping the journal so tightly his knuckles whitened. "Then you know I'm a fraud, that I'm barely keeping it together, that every time I stand in those conference rooms representing humanity, I'm terrified I'll be the one who says the wrong thing, makes the wrong gesture, and starts a war that will consume Earth." "Yes," Elsa said simply, "I know all of that. I also know that you go to the memorial wall every morning at 0600 hours, and whisper the names of those 300 colonists. I know that you've learned 63 alien languages, not just through translators, but actually studied them because you believe understanding begins with words. I know that when Ambassador Threx's spawn child was dying of a disease unknown to his species, you spent 48 hours without sleep researching human medical databases until you found a similar condition and a possible cure. You saved that child's life." Jackson's shoulders began to shake. Elsa had observed this response before. Crying, humans called it, the release of emotion through salt water. Inefficient, illogical, and somehow the most beautiful thing she had witnessed in her 3 centuries of life. "I also read about your brother," Elsa continued softly, "about how he told you that reaching for the stars was running away from Earth's problems, about your mother who died, never understanding why you chose this life, about the woman you loved who married someone else because you were always among the stars and never home." "Stop," Jackson whispered. "No," Elsa replied, moving closer, "because I read all of that, human. I read your pain, your sacrifice, your doubt, your fear, and I didn't look away. Do you know why?" Jackson finally turned to face her, tears streaming down his face in a display of vulnerability that no Zorvathian would ever show another being. "Why? Because between those pages of doubt and pain, I saw what makes humanity extraordinary. I saw resilience that defies logic. I saw a species that looks at the infinite darkness of space and decides to bring light. I saw a man who carries the weight of 300 deaths and uses that grief not as an excuse to quit, but as fuel to ensure no one else dies from preventable misunderstanding." Elsa's form shifted to a warm golden hue. "My people have been spacefaring for 10,000 years. We've achieved technological marvels your species can only dream of. But we've become efficient, clinical. We've forgotten how to feel deeply, to sacrifice personally, to love irrationally. We see the universe as a system to be optimized." She gestured to the journal. "But you, humans, you broken, beautiful, chaotic humans, you see the universe as something to be experienced, to be felt, to be cried over and laughed about and died for. You write journals filled with pain because the alternative is numbness. You love even when it destroys you. You hope even when logic says you shouldn't. Jackson wiped his eyes, a small laugh escaping. You make us sound almost noble. You are, Elsa said firmly. Not despite your flaws, but because of them. I read your journal, Jackson. I saw every weakness, every failure, every moment you wanted to give up. And when I finished, I didn't see a fraud standing in those conference rooms. I saw the most qualified being in this entire station to represent your species. She moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars. My people sent me here to evaluate whether humanity is ready for full membership in the Galactic Council. I was supposed to observe, analyze, report objectively. But your journal changed everything. Changed what? Jackson asked, joining her at the viewport. My recommendation. I'm telling the Council that humanity isn't ready for membership, you're ready for leadership. Because while we advanced species have been optimizing systems and maximizing efficiency, we forgot what the galaxy actually needs. It needs species who still know how to feel, who still write in journals about their pain and dreams, who still believe that 300 deaths matter enough to whisper their names every morning. Jackson stared at her, speechless. Finally, he managed. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything, Elsa replied, her form shifting to a color Jackson had never seen before, something between joy and hope. Just keep being human. Keep doubting, keep fearing, keep writing in your journal, and when the Council votes next cycle, know that at least one ambassador will stand and tell them the truth, that the future of the galaxy doesn't need more efficiency. It needs more humanity. They stood together in silence, watching the stars wheel past the viewport. Jackson clutched his journal, his burden, his confession, his salvation, and for the first time since the Proxima incident, felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope, and somewhere in the vastness of space, 300 names whispered on the solar wind. Finally, at peace, knowing that their deaths had not been meaningless, they had taught one man to care so deeply that even an ancient crystalline being from across the galaxy could learn, through his pain, what it truly meant to be alive. Elsa had read the journal. She had seen everything, and she hadn't looked away, neither would the galaxy.